The night air was still, save for the faint rustle of leaves against the window pane. You've heard creaks and moans in old houses, just the wind, you tell yourself. Yet something about those sounds feels deliberate, as if a presence is testing the limits of the physical world. Poltergeists, from the German, noisy spirit, aren't merely the stuff of horror movies, they're the most mischievous and often terrifying manifestations of the paranormal. Unlike silent specters that drift through walls, poltergeists actively interact with our world. Objects fly, furniture moves, and invisible hands push and pinch. Tonight, we delve into 5 of the most bone-chilling poltergeist encounters ever documented. Stories so unsettling, they'll keep you glancing over your shoulder long after you've heard them. The Rosenheim mind riddle 1967-68 Theory. In the late 1960s, Rosenheim, a quiet Bavarian town, was the unlikely stage for one of the most puzzling poltergeist cases ever recorded. At the center was a law office belonging to a firm named BU Rose für Versicherungsangelegenheiten. The first incident occurred when the phone began ringing incessantly. Despite being disconnected, papers flew off the receptionist's desk, and heavy furniture shifted by inches, leaving deep grooves in the wooden floor. The firm's head, Joseph Bender, initially chalked it up to pranks by rival lawyers until he witnessed doors slamming shut on their own and chalk writing appearing on a blackboard. Stop investigations. Over the next 7 months, this unseen force escalated its activity. Sophisticated electrical equipment malfunctioned, ceiling lights dimmed and brightened in rapid succession, and clocks stopped at precise times, often 2013. Physicists from Munich University installed monitoring devices throughout the office. Electrometers detected bursts of static electricity correlating with the disturbances. Yet no living culprit could be found, and no logical explanation, be it gas leaks, vibrations from nearby trains, or deliberate sabotage, held up under scrutiny. Even more chilling, one night a cigarette lighter flew across the room at a young secretary, narrowly missing her head. Rumors spread that the spirit was linked to the office's former tenant, a man who'd committed suicide there years earlier, but conclusive evidence remained elusive. In March 1968, as mysteriously as it began, the poltergeist ceased its activity. The Rosenheim case remains one of the most rigorously documented and least explained encounters in parapsychology, illustrating how poltergeists can manipulate not just small objects, but complex systems, challenging our understanding of physics itself. The Enfield Poltergeist, a 1977-79 Perhaps the most famous poltergeist haunting of the 20th century took place in Enfield, England, in a modest council house at 284 Green Street. Margaret Hodson, a single mother of 4, suddenly found her youngest daughter, Janet, levitating above her bed during the night of August 30, 1977. Over the next 18 months, objects tumbled across the floor, walls shook, and knocking sounds reverberated through the house, audible even to neighbors beyond the shared garden wall. Journalists and investigators from the Society for Psychical Research, ASPR, descended on the Hodson home. Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair spent over 100 hours in the house, documenting more than 1,000 incidents. Furniture moving, toys being thrown, and scratching noises emanating from the walls. Photographs captured Janet's body levitated off the mattress, her face a mask of terrified awe. Audio recordings picked up disembodied voices, including one deeper than Janet's normal tone, seemingly speaking through her. "You stupid cow, what do you think you're doing?" Skeptics pointed out the possibility of ventriloquism or mischievous behavior by Janet and her sister, but the sheer volume of witnesses, including police officers, and the reluctance of Janet to fake such distress lent credibility to the haunting. The poltergeist's apparent motivation seemed to revolve around Janet, who experienced violent thrashing and biting during episodes. Medical examinations revealed broken bruises on her arms, consistent with gouging by unseen fingernails. Despite the attention, skeptics remain. arguing selective editing by investigators and the family's tenuous financial benefit from the media circus. Yet even skeptics admit some incidents, like heavy furniture sliding by itself across polished floors, defy simple explanation. The Enfield haunting continues to be studied, turned into films and books, and remains a touchstone for poltergeist phenomena worldwide. The Bell Witch of Tennessee, 1817-1821, long before modern investigators arrived on the scene, the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee, endured one of America's earliest and most violent poltergeist hauntings. In late 1817, John Bell and his daughter Betsy heard scratching and whispering at their farmhouse. What began as subtle disturbances escalated quickly, rattling chains, disembodied voices taunting the family, and physical assaults targeting John's youngest son, Bobby, who was beaten and pinched relentlessly by an unseen force. The entity, which would later be named the Bell Witch, purportedly identified itself as Kate Batts, a disgruntled neighbor whom John Bell had sued. The witch's voice, captured in letters by local officials, offered curses and warnings. "I'll kill you, John Bell," was a refrain whispered in the night. Visitors from across Tennessee and beyond flocked to the Bell farm, including future President Andrew Jackson, who reportedly observed phenomena like clay pots thrown across rooms and imprinted handprints glowing on walls. Over 4 years, the Bell Witch's activities grew more malevolent. Livestock was mutilated, and John's health declined rapidly, with many attributing his death in 1820 directly to the witch's vengeance. According to folklore, the witch promised Betsy she would vanish after killing John, but never left her alone, continuing taunts for another year. The Bell Witch account includes written testimonies from neighbors and clerics, making it one of the best documented pre-photographic hauntings in American history, while some modern scholars question the veracity, citing local gossip and embellished retellings. The impact of the Bell Witch story echoes in pop culture, inspiring films like An American Haunting and countless retellings of a poltergeist that seemed determined to destroy one family. The Thornton Heath haunting, 1966. In the summer of 1966, a suburban home in Thornton Heath, South London, became a vortex of paranormal activity that left the Cluett family shattered by fear. It started innocently, enough small stones thrown at the windows, knocking on walls, but soon the disturbances worsened. Pictures flew off walls at breakfast, glasses shattered in mid-air, and heavy crockery smashed itself against the pantry door. The family patriarch, George Cluett, reported seeing a dark, humanoid shape glide down the staircase at 2 a.m. His wife, Alma, was levitated from her chair while reading in the living room. Their teenage son, Terry, suffered bruises from invisible hands. One night, a plate hovered inches above the dining table before crashing to the floor, its porcelain shards embedding in the wood. Local parapsychologists, alerted by frantic phone calls, conducted overnight vigils. Instruments tracked spikes in electromagnetic fields correlating with poltergeist events. Yet, when skeptics attempted to simulate the disturbances by pulling strings or throwing objects, the phenomena didn't replicate unless the genuine article, the forced anonymity of the poltergeist, seemed to resist any artificial facsimile. Despite numerous photographs of objects in mid-flight and audio recordings of disembodied laughter, the terrifying episodes abruptly stopped after 3 months, leaving the Cluetts too traumatized to discuss details publicly. What set Thornton Heath apart was the presence of multiple witnesses, including friends and clergy who came to help. Reverend Sinclair claimed he saw a crucifix ripped from his hands by an unseen force and thrown across the room. Even local police officers, initially skeptical, left reports of unexplained cold spots and steel jars rattling on shelves. To this day, the empty Cluett house stands silent, but its reputation as one of Britain's most unnerving poltergeist cases endures. The Rosenbach House poltergeist, a 1909-1901 yen, Philadelphia's historic Rosenbach House, now a museum, was once home to William and Emily Rosenbach, who in 1909 encountered a series of events that would terrify even the most skeptical scholar. Initially, small items, pens, letters, jewelry, began disappearing from one room and reappearing elsewhere, as if rearranged by an invisible housekeeper. But soon the disturbances turned sinister, heavy books flew off shelves, and Emily Rosenbach awoke to find her silk bed curtains tied in intricate knots, despite no one else in the house. The most unsettling incident occurred in November 1909, when William's prized pocket watch vanished from his vest pocket only to be found lodged behind a painting frame. Minutes later, furniture moved during locked door readings, and the family cat hissed at corners of empty rooms. One evening, Emily reported a cold hand touching her shoulder as she crossed the drawing room. Though the temperature in the house registered a comfortable 60-80 dF, newspaper articles chronicled the Rosenbachs' distress, drawing curious onlookers and journalists. Paranormal investigators set up cameras and recording devices, hoping to catch the poltergeist in action. Their photographs showed motion blurs where no person stood and inexplicable handprint shapes on frosted windows. Investigators noted that the activity intensified whenever Emily played the piano, leading some to theorize a psychokinetic link, perhaps a spirit drawn to sound, or even Emily herself unconsciously projecting energy. By January 1910, the Rosenbachs, fearing for their safety, temporarily vacated the home, leaving behind cameras and investigators. During their absence, the activity inexplicably ceased. When they returned, nothing further occurred. The Rosenbach House story highlights how poltergeists can center around particular individuals or activities, sometimes subsiding when those triggers vanish. Today, visitors to the museum report a lingering sense of unease in the drawing room, suggesting that echoes of the poltergeist's fury may never fully fade. Living in the shadow of the unseen, what unites these 5 terrifying poltergeist encounters? In each case, an invisible force broke the boundaries between the material and the intangible, turning everyday realities into theaters of the uncanny. Whether through electrical disturbances, physical assaults, or direct manipulation of objects, these noisy spirits defy our scientific understanding and leave us grappling with an unsettling question: how much control do we truly have over our surroundings? Skeptics argue that every haunting can be debunked. Blame pranks, psychological suggestions, or undetected natural phenomena. Yet, when multiple credible witnesses, rigorous documentation, and inexplicable patterns converge, we're forced to reconsider. Are poltergeists echoes of human psychokinesis, the restless energy of the traumatized, or truly independent entities from another plane? Whether you're a devoted skeptic or a fervent believer, one thing is certain: these stories tap into a deep-seated fear of unseen forces. Next time you hear a sudden crash at midnight or feel a fleeting chill in an empty room, ask yourself, are you alone, or is something else restless and unseen testing the limits of our reality? Stay vigilant and remember, the walls have ears, and sometimes they move on their own.